Good morning, everyone. This is Roman with Holistic Dog Training. And guess who I have here today with me? Ash Rose. And she's a fellow colleague. And I would like you to meet her.
With Holistic
So,
Dog Training.
welcome. Guess who I have here today with me? Ash Rose. And she's a fellow colleague. And I would like you to meet her.
With Holistic
So,
Dog Training.
welcome.
Guess who I have here today with me? Ash Rose.
Okay.
And a fellow colleague.
Lots of feedback.
I would like you to meet her. So, welcome. Guess who I have here today with me? Ash
Okay, we
Rose.
need to stop that echo thing. Hold on a second. Okay, we need to stop that echo thing. Hold on a second. Stop that echo thing. Let me fix that. I'll try to cancel the echo cancellation. Let me fix that. I'll try to cancel the echo cancellation. It's ridiculous. Can you use your phone instead, maybe by any chance?
Sure.
Do that. I think that will work better.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, I'm gonna leave this.
Can you use your phone instead? Yeah, see you in a bit. So you know what? Every time we have some good people on the show, there's always this little devil, the tech devil, comes like, "Yeah, I'm gonna screw this up." So meanwhile, how about you guys tell me where you're from and how you're related, and why would you like to watch the show today? And what do you think about being a trainer and from those communities that are not the regular ones that most people think? People think like people who have certain different ideas and different beliefs and different feelings about stuff, they're just bad and weird and they shouldn't be doing stuff because they should be. I know people who think people have to go surgery or have to go treatment, which is, I'm getting goosebumps just ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, let me know while I'm waiting for Ash to return and share with her thoughts and of course your thoughts. Okay. So if you want to join the show and eventually you're friends with Ash, you're welcome to message us through the comments, and Ash and I will decide. Oh, here she goes. Yay, much better now.
Good.
Good, we got this.
Do I need to rotate it? Does it work?
If you want to, that's fine. Whatever is easier for you.
Okay.
Here you go. Now we have your full screen.
Okay. Great.
Good. So again, so you remember, and for you guys who are on the show and you think it's something that you guys want to share with your group and your friends, maybe you want to share it right now because we're gonna go deep tissue here. And forgive me sometimes my naive questions. They are here for people who would have the similar questions. I think I'm asking the questions that I had when I was a child, growing up in a very, very Roman Catholic school. And just thinking about stuff, just wearing certain clothes was a sin. And it took a lot of time for me to kind of wrap my mind around certain things that are not going to kill me. And actually, I had a lot of friends from the gay community, and I have a lot of clients from the gay community. But I wasn't aware how much trouble that is for some people, and how much sometimes trainers and colleagues struggling with it. And of course, welcome to our coffee round. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Ash.
I am. Well, I come from a compulsion dog training background. So I Do you want to know about my training background?
Of course.
Okay.
I was there too.
So
Nothing. I don't hide anything. People think
yeah,
like
so
I'm a
I
forever
started.
born positive trainer. No, I wasn't.
Yeah. So I started with like shock collar training, and then moved to oops, sorry. My bird is messing stuff up
Yeah,
here.
you're gonna tell me about that bird.
Yeah.
I saw already. Usually, I have cats walking through the screen. I haven't barely seen birds through the screen, but
Yeah,
she's gonna show up at some point. She,
yeah,
he,
she
it.
is.
What is he?
My bird?
Yeah.
She's a pigeon. Her name is Inkwell. Come here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there she goes. Okay, so yeah, I started with a shock collar training, and then I moved to choke collar training. It was like very much just traditional dog training, force compliance. So like sit and I make you sit, heel, I make you heel. And that was the answer for any type of behavior issue. So say a dog was reacting to another dog, you would just say heel and correct them and make them heel, and just like physically, give them leash jerks until they stopped reacting. So I actually went down to I took a dog training apprenticeship in Florida. I live in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, and I left my whole life in Michigan to move down to to do a training apprenticeship, an aggressive dog training apprenticeship specifically in Florida. And that was compulsion training. And that was at a dog rescue.
What made you shift and go into positive?
A pretty extreme situation. I had been training an adolescent dog, puppy, and his problem, he did a lot of arousal biting. And so my trainer, my mentor, had me physically correcting him for this, so leash jerks and like holding collar pressure, basically choking him to correct him for doing this. And then one day I went to get him out of his kennel, and he wanted to bite me. And this was a very friendly puppy before. And he was like, no, you're not putting that collar on me. And he wanted to bite me. And then I did put the collar on him, and I got him out, and he kind of attacked me. And I talked to my mentor, John, about it. And he was like, well, the problem is that he doesn't believe your corrections. He doesn't believe that you're serious. So you need to correct him until he passes out, and make him believe that that you will end his life if he tries to bite you. So I did that actually, and then as soon as I did that, I started crying and like panicked because I thought I killed the puppy, the dog, and slapped him awake, and then he attacked me again. And I realized, so it was a pretty severe example, but like I realized in that moment that every single thing I'd been doing was completely wrong. And then I completely left force training and decided I was going to become like really highly certified and really legit trainer. So then I quit there and went and started studying for my CPDT, and I went to the Animal Behavior College, which was I don't recommend, but I got started with they did include an apprenticeship with a trainer, a local trainer. I wish I had just done the apprenticeship but not done the CPDT thing. Or sorry, not the CPDT, but the ABC Animal Behavior College. It was basically like a $3,000 textbook, but they wouldn't send me the textbook. It was a PDF. So
yeah.
It was a horrible program.
I'm so sorry you have. I mean, I got weepy because I've been through this process, and appreciate you sharing that, because many people just don't share it; they're just being quiet about it.
Mhm.
But it shows your quality, because I feel acknowledging it, being there, and then turning your back because of your personal experience is one thing. Denying existing is another thing. I feel I appreciate people who had this emotional experience, because it makes you understand the other side, what they believe. I don't know, they, it sounds kind of like weird, but back then you and me believed that what we're doing is the right thing to do,
Yeah, I did.
because we were kind of brainwashed into that situation. Even
Yeah.
if your gut's feeling says no, you shouldn't, then yeah, but what else should I do?
Hmm.
Right? Because you're kind of brainwashed to look only one directions, and you look only these particular books. And this, if we look in these books back then, most of the books were aversive
Yeah.
and punishing.
Hmm.
So we're coming out of the dark age, and we
Hmm.
transmuted into that change. So for me to going from aversive training into holistic training, it was a whole range of experiences, and I was lucky that I was able to get out there very quickly. And um, it was very hard for me, because you have to admit that you were wrong,
Hmm.
and you have to admit and internally at least apologizing to all those dogs who you didn't do fair on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's
And
really
yeah,
hard.
welcome. So I really appreciate you. Is it a good thing to go through this process? No. I wish people shouldn't go through this process, but once you're there and get out of there, that's even tougher.
Hmm.
Um, so you came out with that and says, "Hey guys, you know what? That's what I did was wrong. Now I'm doing something different."
Hmm.
How does it apply to your life in general?
Um, well, it's interesting because I grew up in the like punk community, and identified as an anarchist, and it doesn't, and then that kind of training is not does not go in line with that kind of ideology at all, and it doesn't
It's
make
a
any
conflict, right?
sense. Yeah, it doesn't. Dom trying to um, be the like the dominant oppressor of a group of animals. It doesn't line up. What I do now is um, it's way more in line with that belief system, and that like our animals are our companions. They're not like we transfer like language from being like, oh, this dog I own, to like my saying like this is my companion dog, and the choices you make for the dog are based on what's best for them. um, and yeah, so it really lines up with my political views, now that and I'm amazed. It's crazy to look back and think that I did everything that I did for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Um, I did, yeah, really aversive training for 4 to 5 years, and I don't know how I didn't see the disconnect, and like being, a person who like questioned authority. How was I believing in my uh, mentor, like listening to everything he said, and doing everything he said without questioning
Mhm.
it. um,
May I ask you a question on that, out
mhm.
of curiosity, because of my background? how how do you feel that dissociation and that I call this idolizing the mentor on this part has to do with your upbringing and your childhood? Is it
Mm.
connected somehow, or you don't see any connections there?
I do have I did have a pretty lengthy history of being involved with narcissistic people. Um, and they have a quality to them, because usually they're very like charismatic people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And are really good at making people believe in them and trust in them.
And then pull the plug.
Yeah. So this man that I mentored was a narcissist, as was my two previous bosses, I guess, people that I worked for, one at a farm and one at a medical clinic, were also narcissists.
So you have a veterinary background?
I later I did, after I left that dog rescue, I did work as a vet tech.
Good.
For about a year. So I have a little bit of a veterinary background.
Gotcha.
But it, you know, it just goes back to like, you know, the patriarchy and, you know, women being manipulated by abusive men.
Right.
And
So it was a
taken
healing.
advantage of.
It was a healing process for you. That whole experience with dealing with narcissistic people, being in a victim state of mind, basically through your long period of time, including your professional career, and then it moved over into your dog training career where you were in that position, right, of applying the same technique you were programmed to do onto the dogs, and then one day you said like, this has to stop. My dog is a victim, not me, for him biting me. And I captured that part, because you didn't blame the dog for that. You didn't say the stupid dog bit me. Like, shit, sorry, I did something to the dog that triggered him to bite me. That has to stop. And then you change that part. That's a big thing. And good. Some other questions I have for you. Now that you're coming out from that situation, how does your dog training approach makes you different from the other parts that you have learned so far? Why should somebody reach out to Rose? What's the specialty?
What I try to kind of specialize in at this time, I guess, is I'm only really taking reactivity and aggression cases, because that's what I'm most passionate about. And that goes back to my dog, Clark. Do you want to make an appearance? Come here. Come here. Here's Clark.
Oh my God, so cute.
So I have a passion for dealing with aggression because of my dog. She's the reason that I got into dog training. So I feel especially soft towards dogs that have aggression and reactivity issues. So, and then I guess just like my approach comes, is now very much science-based, evidence-based, but it also includes my background in compulsion training. So like, I think that makes me unique as a trainer. Not totally unique, because a lot of trainers did come from compulsion training.
But your understanding to reference into that is, if you do this, this is what's going to come out. So your dog's behavior is because of this.
So, yeah. So I have empathy for my clients who have done electric collars, choke collars, prong collars, all kinds of punishment, dominance roles, stuff like that, because I've done all of that to my dog, to Clark. I've done all of that to Clark. And so, but I know now how easy it is to do reward-based training and how well it works. And so I think that experience makes me unique, because I can speak to why we won't use punishment and corrections. So I can speak to personal experience about why we're not going to do that. And I have, a lot of personal experience of getting results with through reward-based training.
Good. Of course, the reason why we're here today is because of your personal preferences and feelings about life and your personal life. So I was wondering if you want to share with us a little bit um, the reason why we had that conversation. And so you're shared at some post that you're queer and you're a dog trainer, and I was like, that's so cool. I have so many clients I would likely to have, being able to have trainers who have similar um, feelings about um, their lives. How you identify yourself?
Um, I identify as a queer woman. Maybe a little bit leaning towards feeling a little bit more non-binary lately. But for now, I identify as a queer woman, cis woman,
Hmm.
I guess. And I am what I guess you would call like pansexual,
Hmm.
but really I only date women and non-binary people. Um,
Without
so
going into your personal life, it's not. It's not. I just want to have share a little bit what is different in general. So if you work with people who um, are in the gay community, what is the difference between a trainer who is cure? Sorry, um, my English is poor on this one. How? Why would people prefer you versus another trainer?
mm,
What are the difficulties that a gay couple would have having a regular person coming in who has no clue?
yeah. Um, a queer person would definitely prefer either a queer trainer or a an ally. Um, but um, you know, people that identify themselves as allies may or uh, it might be a varying degree of understanding
Hmm.
and allyship. But I put it out there very much on my social media and on my websites. So you can't find my contact information on my website without seeing the progressive pride flag and the Black Lives Matter image. Um, so anyone that's contacting me knows where I'm coming from. And um,
Just spell check it right. Sorry. Yeah.
yes. Um, an ally is someone who is not queer. So they're like cisgendered and heterosexual, but they love their queer brothers and sisters
Hmm.
and siblings. Um, Give me just 1 second. I've got to
Sure.
plug in my phone here. There's Inkwell there on the back of the chair.
Watch the bird. You don't want to sit on the cable.
Yeah, this is Inkwell.
Hi, Inkwell. How you doing? You look great.
Yeah, she's my rescue pigeon. Um, so
Is she aggressive?
anyone can call themselves an ally, but they may or may not have like a really good understanding of the issues that trans people face and queer people, gay people face.
I'm very supportive of the gay community. I'm straight. Let's call it this way. I have gay friends, but I support the community for many years. I just don't know what I'm missing to be more supportive. I'm definitely an anti person. I'm not just tolerant. So I'm anti people who say gay people are sick or autistic children have to go into institutions. It just pisses me off because I see it as injustice and I just cannot look away from it. Um, sometimes I have a hard time expressing this neutrality on different posts when I address the general population because my aspect is I want to educate people into not falling for the same traps I fell, and it's very easy to get into that, which there's nobody accepted from it. I have people who are of color, I have people who are for different nationalities. I'm different nationalities. I'm an immigrant, so to speak. I'm European. And I'm Greek Austrian, so I have a different cultures. I have the Mediterranean South cultures and I have the Nordish culture. I've been in different countries, different continents for many years, so I've seen different structures. But for me to be supportive of the gay community as a trainer, what would it entail? What would you like to see if you would be a client? It says, let me check that website. Should I get this person coming to my house? Do I feel safe? Do I trigger any, family situations having a person coming into my house?
Yeah. I think that what I would like to see as a queer client of a person looking for dog training is I would just put the progressive pride flag on your websites. The pride flag that also includes trans and people of color. So I think that that's a really easy way to indicate that you're a safe person. And that would make me
Proud.
feel more confident to hire someone.
What is that could make you feel unsafe as a trans person? Like what
Yeah.
could go wrong, let's speak?
Yeah, so I'm not necessarily trans, but what I would see likely to happen would be number one would be like being misgendered. So like say you're speaking to the dog and say like, oh well, let's go, let's talk to your mom, and where that person doesn't identify as a mom, they identify as non-binary, like a parent. That probably like misgendering would be the most likely thing to happen to a trans person, and just like microaggressions such as that to those may be some things that the person would encounter.
Right. Now, when different groups have different ways to be addressed, how does somebody learn about that?
It would just be
yeah, go ahead.
Just ask. You can as a trainer, you can do simple things like you can ask in person, or a simple thing that I've done is to include on my intake form, my behavior history form, what is your pronouns, and then be sure to take note of those pronouns before I go into the appointments, and use them. But if you don't have something on your form, just say, hi, my name is Roman. My pronouns are he, him. What are your pronouns? And that can make people feel really safe and seen.
Yeah. I can totally see that being a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does the relationship affect into dog training? When you come to the house, I mean, I see a lot of dynamics being people, just a couple, or couple with children, or couple with children with dogs, or couple with multiple dogs. Do you see any difference of couples that are um,
Queer?
queer in the dog's behavior patterns? Are the dynamics different for some reason?
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting question. I I don't think so. I think that like, what I may notice most in the dynamics of I guess at times, like, a cis man might be more likely to want to use punishment because that's how he's been socialized.
Yeah.
But otherwise, in terms of like their relationship to each other and their dog, I think that it's just very much a case by case basis. I've seen, like, there's people that are in a partnership and they have a dog, and one person is the primary caretaker for the dog, and that's the person that comes to the appointments. And occasionally the other partner comes. Sometimes it's a partnership, and every appointment, both people are always there, and they're both like super committed to working with the dog. But I have not noticed a difference in terms of their relationship to each other and the dog.
I've noticed in general, in most of my clients, there is a relationship between, I'm not talking about the sex, but I'm talking about the energetic aspect of masculinity and femininity. That's an energetic aspect of masculine and feminine. I believe I try to incorporate both aspects at the same time when I'm doing work, but I've seen people have elevated masculine aspect that have to heal, and other people who have feminine aspect that have to heal, and the dog responds differently to each aspect. And if we do kind of like attachment relationship training, I see that one person, the dog is more likely to be attracted to work with, even if it's not the primary caretaker, and the other person is more structured oriented and more linear, and the dog has hard time bonding and connecting. Have you noticed there a pattern?
I've noticed a pattern at times with people who have used punishment-based training in the past, who say, oh, my dog doesn't listen to me. The dog only listens to my husband. And the person feels really bad about that, but the reason is that person has threatened them in a more severe way, and they're afraid. So a person that has not done reward-based training, they've done more punishment-based training. They yeah, they may feel sad when the dog listens only to their partner, but it's not a good thing necessarily. It's they're listening more because they're afraid, and that's not ideal.
Cool. How do you feel as a trainer? How do you integrate yourself into the dog training community? Have you seen any negative responses from other colleagues? How safe do you feel going to a training seminar and being with other trainers?
Mm-hmm. I think that the worlds are very different between the force-free dog training community and the traditional dog training community, or balanced training,
Right.
they may call themselves. So the as you're aware, the reward-based force-free dog training community, there are very, very few male force-free dog trainers. Usually men are punishment trainers. It's really, really, really rare to find a like a cis man who is a force-free dog trainer. And I think that has a lot to do with our socialization, and like you were saying, like the masculine energy, and just the patriarchy and how we were socialized to men have a tendency to want to be more domineering and aggressive with their dogs. And so for me now at this time, I am in a great force-free dog training community, and that is almost exclusively women. Also, unfortunately, almost exclusively white women, which is a whole nother topic to discuss. But
Oh yeah.
so and then there's quite a few queer women dog trainers. Like there's two of my local dog training friends are queer.
Good.
But I think that pretty much every most every person that I have encountered in the force-free dog training community is an ally. And I think that goes along with just like, it goes along like several different lines, so like they're also likely to be like leftists or at least liberals. And they have a certain set of beliefs. So, often people who think gay people are okay also believe climate change is real, and also believe like, certain
Yeah,
things.
it's a whole brain thing, right? I struggle with stigma a lot. So I'm in a university community here in Eugene, and when I moved here, of course, I want to network with people, and I got this door closed. So they were interested of the holistic approach, and then as soon as they saw an male, door
Oh, really?
closed, and I was like, wow, like what's wrong with it? Because they just don't believe that as a man who works with large breeds, because my average breed is over 160 pounds, um, it's not possible. And at the same time, the male community, he's a woo-woo trainer. He is derogatory slash whatever. And I was like, really? How do you know that? How do you make that assumption? And how do you think that Ash cannot work with aggressive dogs just because she does look a lot like a female, or she's not man enough, she doesn't wear pants a lot, or she doesn't have her hair cut short, like all the way short? Like, what's their concept? We don't know, basically. I don't know their concept. But I do believe there is a whole generational trauma that comes to surface, and we are here kind of to clear it out. And I feel you're doing a lot of work in your community to let people know, hey, you can be queer and you can be totally normal. It's normal. It's not abnormal. Abnormal are those who don't see that as a normal. But because if you go back to elder generations, like back in Greece and Roman, things were just normal. Nobody will care what you believe in the background as long as you don't do any harm to anyone. You're just a community. That's it. And then all of a sudden we have this masculine dominant hierarchy coming up, and then all of a sudden we says women have to be on the left, men have to be on the right, and you have to love your woman and the woman have to follow the man, and that's it. In between there is nothing, it's only sin. And I grew up in that environment,
Yeah.
and it was not a happy environment because I had friends, dear friends, loving friends who were gay, and they committed suicide. They just couldn't handle it, having so much force and so much suppressed. And there were children. There was 12, 14-year children who their sexuality comes out, and they were discovering the sexuality. And because they tried only to discover the sexuality with men who are in the same place, they were pinpointed as devils. And so I'm coming from that trauma perspective. I says, no, it's not. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not a genetic disposition. And I was back in time that I was thinking at some point, some feelings about certain people are trauma based. Their choice of certain partnerships are trauma based. But I don't think it's the right mindset either. It's just a personal preference. It doesn't matter if it's trauma based or not. It doesn't matter if it's something that the person changed over time or not. It's how the person feels right now. That's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we should judge it in another way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way you do that is coming from the same perspective. I don't judge the dog for his behavior. I'm not judging the dog for attacking me. I try to understand why he does it and what is his emotion behind that and what is his thoughts behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also translate in how we are relating ourselves to the general population, as Barbara says. Barbara is my wife, by the way. We had a whole conversation yesterday, and she helps me a lot putting some things in the correct place because I'm Greek doesn't mean Greeks are weird. I'm Greek and I don't understand the American culture. I'm European culture. We have sexism is weird, and and transgender opinions are weird, and about political views are weird, and religious beliefs are weird. Though different countries have different belief system, we just tolerate it. But here in US, the whole things are different because right now everything merges in together, and you just have to accept it and be okay with it. And not only that, you need to support it because everybody has rights. Just because they're not my rights doesn't mean you don't have rights. Just because you don't have a gun doesn't mean you have to have a gun. Or because you have a different belief system and you have a different sexual orientation doesn't mean you're wrong and I'm right. We just have to get over it. And I feel as spiritual beings being here in ascension process, sex orientation shouldn't be a problem. We should actually encourage it so everybody can express himself emotionally and spiritually the way he feels. And the body shape shouldn't be a restriction to it, the way people see you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's my belief system. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. What is your take?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I would say that there is a genetic predisposition to
Those little Y and X's,
mm-hmm.
guys, there.
Yeah, like gender and sexuality are very much driven by genetics.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a study coming out that's not published yet,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a study coming out that says that dogs can be transgender. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank
I'm
you.
really excited for that. But yes, it's very much genetic. So, I mean, like you're saying, there's it's not a choice. it's just who you are, and then
Mhm.
it's a matter of like if it's safe for you to come out, um, then you will. And if it's not, then you might kill yourself or be super depressed for your whole life. Um,
Tell me about that a little bit. Coming out.
mhm,
What is the meaning of coming out? People says coming out of the closet,
mhm,
as you were trapped in a closet. Definitely, I believe people are trapped in an emotional closet, and they have to open the door when nobody's at home and close the door if somebody's at home. How
mhm,
was your coming out? How does it work? How did it work for you?
mhm. Um, it was a little bit tough for me, but I had a lot better of an experience than most people. Um, uh, it didn't take my family too long to come around, and most of my problem was just fear of giving up a societal privilege of being straight, and fear of discrimination and hate crimes, because I think that, yeah, really stemmed from like I dated a girl who um, wouldn't hold my hand, and when I was pretty young, and she wouldn't hold my hand walking down the street. She was like, well, we can walk down the alley and we can hold hands, but it's not safe for us to walk down the street together, because something bad could happen to us. We could get hate crimes today here. So that was like a big fear that I
That's in
had.
Florida, or
Huh?
was it in Florida, or was it back then where
That
you
was
were
that was here in Hamtramck, Michigan,
in
in
Michigan?
Detroit.
Right, right.
Um, so then when I started actually, like, I got into like a real relationship with a woman, where we're like actually really really dating. I definitely had um, a moment of just fear and grief for letting go of the um, person that I thought that I was, and the societal privilege that I had, dating a man, um, and feeling safe with that.
Hmm.
Um, so it was like I was just scared, um, but it gets easier and easier, and um, I want to, yeah, make the world a safer place for um, other queer people,
Hmm.
young people coming out. And like, I think part of the way I try to do that is by like being um, kind of as out as I can. And I know everyone doesn't have that opportunity or that privilege. I'm like a white, mostly cis woman, living in a, independently. Um, and I have the privilege to be like totally out. And, um, I, but I think that the more, so I like have a lot of, love and care for and respect for anyone who can't be out at this time. Um, but I think that me being out as much as I can um, would allow, would make it feel safer for other people to come out. So, like, for example, I'm driving around and I'm, um, not in Detroit anymore. Detroit feels safer for queer people than like, sometimes out in the country or out in the suburbs. But, I'm driving out in the suburbs to a training appointment and I see like the progressive pride flag flying on a funeral home. And I'm like, wow, that's
Progressive.
amazing. That makes me feel safe.
Right, right.
Um, So I think the more we can be out, the safer it makes other people feel.
Right. Um, if you compare the time where you're not open about being queer and after, the fears that you had to getting out of the closet, and now that you feel the way you feel right now, what is the myth that is behind? What could something you can say, hey, I thought that would be a miserable time for me to get out and all these fears coming up. And in reality, it's not. Once you're out, it feels better.
Mhm.
What is something you can share with people? Is your bird taking care of business there? Um, how do you feel about that? What can you share with people and eventually, kids that are not out yet? What is the thing that you can say, hey, you know what, it's not as bad as you think it is
Mhm.
nowadays, at least, or in
Mhm.
the town that you are, or in the city that you are, or in the country that you are.
Mhm. Um, I, I'm not sure what the myths are because a lot of these things, that we fear are true. Um, and I've just been lucky to not experience a lot of discrimination and hate. But you know, the like I remember like this one huge fear I had was if I was walking down the street holding hands with a woman that someone would get out of their car and assault us.
Wow.
Someone driving by seeing us. So, that's a fear that I had, a specific fear that hasn't happened to me. But that's not to say that that couldn't happen. So, it is a scary world out there. And um, we are taking a risk by being out, especially for more marginalized groups. It's even more dangerous. Um, People of color and transgender people. It's a lot safer for me as like a mostly cis white woman than like a trans black woman, for example. They are at disproportionately, like extremely high risk for being murdered. Um,
Wow.
and that is real. So, like, I don't know what I would say is a myth because the fears are real. But um, all we can do is try to make our communities safer and educate people more. And, if people are educated and aware and um, know someone who is trans or is queer, they're going to be more likely to accept another person that they meet who is. And I just hope that as um, we move forward, like more, maybe more people being out, maybe it being more visible. Um, um, I mean, it's really, really dangerous to be, especially to be trans. It's dangerous from a um, perspective of like your danger to yourself. So your danger of killing yourself. And that's a pen. Come here. That's a pen. That's not a toy. Give me that. Gazaro. um, so, um, yeah, it's really dangerous. It's really scary. A trans person in my community just killed himself a couple days ago. It's really real. So, um, all we can do is, I guess, just trying to protect trans Black women as much as possible, trying to protect all of our queer siblings as much as possible, and trying to make the world a safer place for them, because it is a dangerous place, especially if you're queer, especially if you're Black. It's really dangerous.
We don't see that if we are privileged because we don't see the problem. But on the other side is the people who are scared. I know the difference because I was in countries, for example, in Austria, I was considered an Ausländer because my German wasn't good because I grew up in Greece. In Greece, I was an Ausländer because I looked like an Austrian and I wasn't looked like a Greek. And then when I came to US, I looked like an immigrant because I was speaking different. But my look, so it was kind of confusing, and I still have people kind of going after me if I have certain political views that are not in alignment with either or side. I got a lot of heat for making actually that show today for people who kind of like, what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me. What's wrong with you for not seeing that that is a need to be shared?
Mm-hmm.
And thank God over the last political period, they have a lot of people moving away as followers, which is in alignment with what you said before, that people have certain belief views, have a certain way of thinking about stuff, and certain way of seeing also the gay community. And obviously, I'm not there to give them a lesson. I'm just available for the information that I have to share because I've been in different places. And so I would open. So I really like that you have your own community and you're supportive, not only about people of color, not only people of different sexual orientation, but also of people who are not being seen for their native rights in the community, right? Am I right here?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should just be more open as a trainers because we're not training dogs. We're helping people shift their mindset about seeing what's happening in front of them. Because without comparing people with dogs, however, we have to see that dogs have our species, they have rights, and they are not privileged because they are contained in a house that we choose. So, in other words, and I would say the word, I feel safe to say the word, we have pets in slavery. And we have to kind of see that aspect of it. The dogs are not free. They have no free choice of food. They don't have free choice of water. They don't have free choice of place. So they are so restricted.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, we compare them with wolves. And they're not wolves.
Mm-hmm.
They have common ancestors. So wolf and dogs have common ancestors, but they're not wolves.
Mm-hmm.
So we even put onto them a genetic predisposition, but they're not. And we take away the rights of being who they can be. And it shows up also with families. And I feel dogs who are in a gay family are more likely to be happy than dogs who are not.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds weird, but I've seen it. I have more dogs have less behavior issues in families who are gay from emotional and attachment relationship perspective, not with trauma, that's a different story, and then other people. That's my personal experience. Doesn't mean that's the rule, and I don't generalize here. Just saying specific things that people have worked. I would say I have like 2 or 3% gay people in my client base that I know of. Some people just don't share all the information. I'm not asking specific questions, but I can see from the dynamics. Some people I don't see even their partners. They say my partner, but I never seen the person.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel this is a chapter that we have to continue to explore, and I think again we have to take sides. I don't think being in the gray zone is a healthy place to be. Make up your mind, either or. You're either against it or you're anti.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should take that side and say, I'm anti, and I openly declare it. I'm anti people who are against people of color, against different races, and against sexual belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm against violence and against force. And I understand where balance training is coming from, but I think they are in a gray zone. And this gray zone usually are hoarding a lot of people who are violent. And I think the balance community itself has to clear them out
Yeah.
until the transition, because it is a gray zone. And if I believe a dog is wrong for doing something and gives me the right to use minimal punishment,
Hmm.
then it's the same thing I say, oh, I wanted to have a friend, even if I accepted you see a girlfriend or a boyfriend in that manner, but you should see a treatment plan for yourself because you may be better later. It's the same concept.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels between people who use force training and then how they relate to other people in their lives. They may be more likely to be an abuser um, towards the people in their lives, and there's just a lot of interesting parallels. And then there's, you know, what I would love to get, as we move forward as a society. I would love to see more of um, people understanding um, that disconnect and addressing it. So, for example, I'm in a Black Lives Matter protest, and there's somebody there with their dog on a prong collar, and there's somebody there with their dog on an electric collar, and they're, of course, I've been there, and I get um,
Triggered.
more, yeah. So um, I just hope as a society we can see the relationship between, um, oppression um, of Black people and oppression of our our animals that we live our lives with, and oppression of the you know the earth, and like abuse towards the earth, and um, so I, I hope that to see more people in the like leftist community. I want to see everyone in the leftist community doing force-free dog training, basically, and
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
to see everyone in the gay community doing force-free dog training, and I want, and then there's like those people that are. Then you've got your like white cis man doing balanced dog training and abusing all of the women in his life, and I want those people to die. I don't I don't know if they're gonna get better, but
Yeah, yeah.
so
I do believe, closing with a hopeful message, I do believe we are in a good direction. We're heading in a good direction. I'm feeling like being in a slow motion movie. We can speed up a little bit. And I think we need more people like you, and I put myself into it, to kind of spread the word and open up the conversation panel in different little communities, in different groups. I'm very clear in my group. I think I have like 4,000 people in there. It says, any type of restriction on how other people think, or you're this or you're that, you're out. There's no conversation going on, on why, or you're out if you don't have that concept straight in mind. You're supposed not to be in that group. It's a holistic group, which means holistic, everything is included, right? And I have people in my group who I know they are punishing trainers, and I have them in for them to see there's another way out.
mhm,
But if you're mean and you try to push that into the group, you're out.
mhm.
And I feel we should start making choices in our lives, which people we want to have in our lives and which are not. And even if this is trauma based, we have to start creating those boundaries for ourselves, because if we're not respecting ourselves for what we are and what we believe, I think we cannot expect other people to change either.
Yeah.
um, what would be your closing message to our guys here? If I we have a question here. I don't know if you have time to address a question,
Sure.
but then I would love to hear your closing, because you're the guest here, and I would like you to say on your way, like, hey, By the way, think about that. So we have here Karen. Karen, did I spell it right? I have an Akbash rescue since August. He has started chewing in the window sills in the last month when left with our two resident dogs. I think he's 2 years old. I'm thinking he's come some separation anxiety. Yeah. So the explanation here that he has started chewing windows when left with the other resident dogs is kind of the key here. So what was your suggestion with what you know,
Um,
of course?
we would need to do a separation of anxiety evaluation. Um, so that usually involves um, setting up the dog um, for success and videotaping them and seeing what happens. So there's like a lot of different. I'm not a separation anxiety specialist.
Hmm.
I refer out separation anxiety cases to my friends like Jane and Anne who do specialize in it. But we would need to determine, is it boredom based or is it anxiety based or both. Um, and so, like, if the dog is left in a pen with a lot of enrichment, like licky mats and Kongs and bones and stuff to shred and snuffle mats and stuff like that, is the dog entertained and happy and fine when they're alone, or are they still panicking? And if they're still panicking, then we need to do a separation anxiety treatment program. And so I would refer out to a separation anxiety specialist in that case.
Hmm. Well, from my perspective, I see separation anxiety in 7 layers or 7 types or roots. I would say the first root would be separation anxiety, which is genetic and very natural, especially in the puppies um, are born, and it could be also trauma based. Um, the other part of separation anxiety could be from conditioning. The dogs are conditioned to feel a certain way because we just leave them alone and they just learn the situation is not going back. Frustration, depression could be a reason for anxiety, but also diet regulated anxiety. Um, and I feel we should identify all those symptoms when anxiety starts. It's not only when you're leaving, it's constantly there. So anxiety is fear based, and we have to see that as a fear based um, state of mind. So we have to see that the dog thinks, and the moment he thinks something's going to happen, his emotions go weird, and the behavior is following. So trying to address the behavior and occupying the dog with licky mats is not always the solution out of separation anxiety. It needs a lot of work to help the dog change his mind about what's going to happen if you're not present in the house. So I'm glad you have people to refer to. Some people trust just try things, which is not very helpful. It can make things even worse and put that separation anxiety even deeper. There's even aggression coming up with separation anxiety for dogs who actually are aggressive, redirected aggression towards their sibling dogs. Not really because the person is gone, it's because there's nobody there to regulate it. And sometimes the way they see the frustration comes up is because another dog has separation anxiety and that dog cannot process what's happening in the house, or some event comes in, the dog gets very stressed and then goes after the blinds. So sometimes it's not really separation anxiety, but it could be. Sometimes it's just stress, um, working out stress. The dog gets overwhelmed with the situation he's being left behind, and they just go nuts. I have dogs, for example, in my house that if we leave, they feel overwhelmed with having so much range and nobody there to take care of it. So they feel overwhelmed with the responsibility of them being left behind. Come on, buddy. So yeah, separation anxiety. I think especially with Akbash rescues, there's a lot of separation anxiety involved with the job description and genetics. They need to be together, and if we're not working on that level and teaching the dog that being alone or being away is also part of the job description and something he, needs to be worked at, is something we need to look for. So thanks, Karen. Karen, did I say it right? For the question. So whoop, Manny says, "Hi guys, what's up?"
Aw.
So, And yeah, I think we kind of pretty much captured everything. Is there anything you want to share with us? Closing?
Mm, yeah, I would just, I think the last bit of conversation um, we had is kind of really encompasses the most important point, which is I would like to see people recognizing the disconnect between all areas of um, oppression. So if you care about queer people, you need to also care about Black people, and you need to also care about animal welfare. And I know, everyone isn't, we each have our own um, specialty,
Hmm.
so I, although I like go to protests and stuff like that, my major activism is in animal welfare. So we each have our own route, but I just want people to see the relationship between societal oppression and um, how we're treating our animals. So I just want to continue to see force-free dog training becoming more prevalent because it's very very sad how prevalent and pervasive the balanced dog training is, and as we move forward as a society, as we are more loving and accepting of our queer siblings, um, and our um, everyone in our community, people of color, and people with disabilities and other marginalized groups. I hope that we can also do better by our dogs. Um, so as we realize one thing is wrong, I hope that we also realize that these other things are wrong, and that we take action and stand up for all of those things.
Wow. I really so appreciate you for being here and sharing your knowledge and experience through the whole process in both levels, in dog training and in personal life. Um, and I'm glad you were able to come out without serious problems. And I wish more people will be feeling free to get out and share their real personality and not having to be suppressed. And yeah, I don't know how you guys feel who are watching us today. You guys have any questions that you want to ask Ash, other than around dog training? And I know some of you don't want to be public about stuff. You're welcome to reach out to Ash through her personal account. She is on Instagram. What's your extension on Instagram?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's at my sidekick training.
Okay.
Yes, please send me a message on Instagram if you have any questions about gender or sexuality. Um, I recently had a friend reach out to me and ask if I would speak to a mother of a trans kid, um,
Hmm.
who's the kid was coming out, and the parents were having a hard time. So I'm, anything like that, or you have any personal questions, um, I'm here to um, be supportive to you, and yeah, anything I can do.
Yeah, and if any one of you guys looking to do behavior training and not just force free, but secure attachment based, trauma informed training approach and behavior healing, you guys welcome to reach out to us. You're doing too. So thanks again for being here today, and we'll keep sharing stuff. And whenever you want to share something on my group, you're welcome to do so. Good. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for the coffee. I pay. It's good.
Thank you. This has been wonderful. It was very nice speaking with you.
Good. So goodbye, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.